When the Devil's Hand MC spotted Jack Reeves at the truck stop, they saw just another long hauler with valuable cargo. What they didn't know was that Reeves had trained military K9s for combat operations. Now, as they moved to intercept, two Belgian Malinois watched from the shadows, ready to turn the hunters into the hunted. The morning sun casts long shadows across Jack Reeves's customized Kenworth as he completes his pre-trip inspection. To casual observers, he's just another bearded trucker hauling cargo across America's heartland. They miss the subtle reinforcements to the cab doors, the specialized antenna array, the military-grade locks securing the trailer. Most importantly, they miss the two Belgian Malinois watching from the darkened windows with unnerving stillness. "All clear, boys," Jack murmurs, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Havoc and Sigma respond with barely perceptible shifts in posture, their eyes never leaving their handler. These aren't pets, they're combat veterans. 3 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq as an Army K9 handler had taught Jack to recognize threats others missed. The quiet roads of rural Montana presented different dangers than Kandahar province, but the principles remained the same: observe, analyze, respond. His cargo, specialized pharmaceuticals for hospitals facing critical shortages, made his truck a high-value target. But potential threats saw just another solitary driver trying to earn a living. That mistaken assumption had saved his life twice in the past year alone. Jack climbs into the cab, his movements economical, precise. Combat habits never fade. Havoc shifts slightly to make room, while Sigma maintains his position by the passenger window, eyes methodically scanning the truck stop with military precision. "Status check," Jack commands softly. Both dogs perform subtle acknowledgement behaviors, training. Responses developed during night operations, where noise meant detection and detection meant death. The bonds forged in combat zones transcended ordinary handler-dog relationships. These animals had saved his life more times than he could count. He'd done the same for them. The manifest shows a straightforward route through Montana's backcountry to rural hospitals in desperate need of supplies. Jack studies it while mentally cataloging alternate paths, contingency plans, potential choke points, another habit from combat zones that civilian life hadn't erased. Havoc's ears suddenly prick forward, body tensing slightly. Jack reads the change instantly. "Contact?" he asks quietly. The dog's subtle head tilt toward the west side of the truck stop tells Jack everything he needs to know. Someone's watching. Someone Havoc considers worth tracking. Through his side mirror, Jack spots 3 motorcycles with riders wearing matching leather cuts. The bikers are positioned exactly where a surveillance team would place themselves. Good visibility of the entire lot without drawing attention. "Devil's Hand MC getting sloppy," he murmurs to Sigma, who has also noticed the bikers, his posture shifting to alert without being obvious. The dog's military training shows in how he maintains his position while tracking the potential threat. Jack continues his preparations as if he's noticed nothing, but his mind is already running threat assessments. The pharmaceutical shipment is valuable, especially with the current rural shortages, but not enough to warrant professional surveillance. Something else is happening. His satellite phone buzzes, a text from his contact at the shipping company. "Activity increase on rural routes. 3 drivers assaulted last week. Security protocol Echo advised." Jack sends a brief acknowledgement while mentally reviewing Protocol Echo, enhanced security measures, alternative routes, regular check-ins. His hand unconsciously touches the concealed compartment where his service weapon rests. "Looks like we're taking the scenic route today, boys," he tells the dogs, who watch him with the steady gaze of soldiers awaiting orders. The Belgian Malinois had been with him through the worst fighting in Helmand province. What awaited them? On Montana, backroads couldn't possibly compare, or so he thought. As Jack starts the engine, the bikers begin moving toward their motorcycles. Through his mirror, Jack reads their body language, professional, controlled, military precision in how they mount and form up. Not ordinary gang members, Jack assesses quietly to Havoc. Former military, organized tactical training. This realization changes everything. Standard gang enforcers were dangerous but predictable. Military-trained operators thought tactically, anticipated countermeasures, adapted to changing situations. Jack pulls out of the truck stop, maintaining normal driving patterns while his mind races through scenarios. The cargo suddenly feels heavier, the responsibility greater. His truck isn't just carrying pharmaceuticals, it's transporting life-saving medication that someone with military training considers worth the risk of a coordinated interception. Defensive posture, he tells. His dogs, who respond instantly, shifting positions to maintain optimal coverage of the cab's approaches. The Belgian Malinois' combat experience shows in their economy of movement. No wasted energy, no unnecessary action. The highway stretches before them, deceptively peaceful in the morning light. But Jack knows better. The game has already begun, and the players behind him have no idea they're targeting a ranger who spent years teaching military working dogs to outsmart enemies in the world's deadliest combat zones. They think we're prey, Jack tells his companions as they cross into open country. Let's show them what happens when you hunt a hunter. 50 miles into his route, Jack guides his truck along Montana's rural Highway 12, the forests of the Lewis and Clark National Forest rising on either side. Havoc and Sigma maintain their vigilant silence, but their eyes track every movement outside the cab with military precision. 3 motorcycles follow at a consistent distance, not close enough to be obvious, but maintaining perfect visual contact. They're not even trying to hide it, Jack mutters, watching through his specialized mirrors as 2 more riders appear from a side road, integrating smoothly into the surveillance formation. The coordinated movement reminds him of Taliban scout teams in Helmand Province. Multiple elements, staggered formation, constant visual contact. The rural gas station appears around a bend, its faded sign and single row of pumps, a reminder of how isolated these routes have become. Sheriff Mike Dawson's patrol vehicle sits parked beside the building, exactly where Jack's advance message had requested. Dawson is a former Marine who understands the language of precise timing and positioned assets. Regular delivery schedule. Today, Mr. Reeves? Dawson asks loudly as Jack refuels, his casual tone disguising the tension in his eyes. He passes a coffee cup that contains a folded note beneath the lid. Same as always, Jack responds, accepting the cup, while Havoc's ears twitch toward the road where the bikers have stopped just out of earshot. The dog's combat training shows in his subtle alertness without obvious reaction. Once back in his truck, Jack unfolds the note. Devil's Hand targeting farmer shipments. 3 drivers hospitalized last week. Synthetic opioid operation suspected. Call secure. He memorizes the information before destroying the paper. Sigma watches the highway, while Havoc keeps his attention on the station's entrance. Their positioning isn't random. It's a security protocol developed during combat operations. Jack's satellite phone connects after 2 rings. Dawson, secure. It's Reeves. What's the pattern on those driver attacks? All carrying specialized medications, all on rural routes. Found 1 truck ransacked, cargo gone, driver in critical condition. The other 2 suffered similar fates. His voice drops lower. Intel suggests Devil's Hand's new president, Viper, served with 10th Mountain Division. He's building something that requires pharmaceutical precursors. Jack processes this while watching a rider position himself at the highway intersection, hand casually resting near what appears to be a concealed weapon. I've picked up at least 5 surveillance elements since the truck stop. They're getting bolder, Dawson confirms. Whatever they're building, they need those components badly enough to risk operating in my jurisdiction. A brief flash of light from the forest edge catches Jack's eye. Someone in the tree line with optics. The position offers perfect surveillance of the entire station. They're documenting everything. My truck's features, our conversation, probably running facial recognition. Jack analyzes, recognizing the surveillance pattern from his military days. Can you abort the shipment? Dawson asks. Negative. Already. On their radar, switching drivers would just put someone else at risk. Jack studies the terrain ahead, mentally mapping alternative routes. What's in my cargo that's worth this kind of attention? Specialized medications including ketamine derivatives and synthetic morphine components. Critical for rural hospital. Surgeries, but also key precursors for designer opioids with street value 10 times pharmaceutical grade. The pieces click into place. They're not building a distribution network. They're creating a production operation. Exactly, Dawson confirms, which makes you a priority target. Jack ends the call as a leather-clad biker approaches his truck. The man's movements have the smooth confidence of someone accustomed to intimidating others, but his eyes betray caution as he notices the dogs. "Mr. Reeves," the biker says with practiced courtesy, "my club has interest in your cargo. Triple your standard fee for a small delivery modification." Sigma watches the man with deadly focus, while Havoc's attention remains fixed on the tree line spotter. The dog's disciplined division of security responsibilities reflects years of tactical training. "Not interested," Jack responds, studying how the man assesses his truck, noting reinforced doors, specialized radio equipment, the tactical positioning of both dogs. "Reconsider, friend. These back roads can be dangerous." The man's smile doesn't reach his eyes, especially with such valuable cargo. "I appreciate the concern." Jack's hand rests casually near a concealed compartment. "But my schedule is fixed." The man studies the dogs with dismissive amusement, clearly mistaking them for pets rather than combat veterans with multiple tours in war zones. "Nice dogs. German shepherds, right? My cousin raises them." "They're Belgian Malinois," Jack responds, watching how the man processes this incorrect information, another intelligence-gathering technique from his military days. "Former police dogs." "Of course." The man steps back, making a subtle hand gesture toward the forest. "Safe travels, Mr. Reeves. We'll be watching the roads. Such dangerous times." After the biker leaves, Jack radios his shipping contact. Possible compromise. Implementing security protocol Echo. Inside the cab, Jack unfolds detailed maps of the region. "They're watching all major routes," he tells Havoc and Sigma, his fingers tracing alternative paths through remote terrain. The dogs listen with the focused attention of soldiers receiving a mission brief. "Time to disappear," Jack murmurs, starting the engine. In his rearview mirror, all 5 motorcycles begin moving in coordinated response to his departure. The game has begun in earnest, professional surveillance against combat-honed evasion tactics. But the bikers still don't understand what they're really tracking. They see a truck driver with pets. Jack knows better. They're hunting an army ranger with 2 combat-trained military working dogs who've survived the deadliest battlefields on Earth. Their first mistake was targeting his shipment. Their fatal mistake will be following him into the mountains. Jack's truck vanishes from the main highways, taking unmarked logging roads that wind through Montana's dense forests. His GPS navigation system has been disabled, another precaution against sophisticated tracking. Instead, he navigates by memorized landmarks and terrain features, skills honed during night operations in Afghanistan. "They're still with us," he tells Havoc, noting dust clouds on a distant ridge through his specialized side mirrors. "But they're hanging back. Professional restraint, definitely military trained." The truck bounces over rough terrain as Jack follows an old Forest Service road, using the natural canopy to mask his vehicle's profile. Every route choice reflects combat experience, avoiding predictable paths, utilizing terrain for concealment, maintaining multiple exit options. By mid-afternoon, he reaches an unmarked turnoff, half hidden by overgrown brush. A weathered sign warns, "Private property, trespassers will be shot." Beyond stands a collection of log buildings that appear abandoned to casual observers. Sam Winters emerges from the largest structure as Jack's truck rolls to a stop. The former Army Ranger moves with the measured precision of someone perpetually assessing his surroundings. "You brought company," Sam notes, nodding toward the distant ridgeline. "I count 4 bikes maintaining surveillance perimeter. Professional spacing." "Devil's Hand, MC," Jack confirms, releasing Havoc and Sigma from the cab. The dogs immediately begin a coordinated perimeter check without verbal commands. They're after the pharmaceutical shipment. Inside the reinforced barn, Sam helps Jack install additional ballistic panels while monitoring surveillance feeds from concealed cameras placed throughout the surrounding forest. "They're watching all major roads," Sam warns, tightening mounting bolts on an armored plate. "Devil's Hand doesn't just hijack cargo, they take drivers too. Viper wants the technical knowledge as much as the components." Jack studies topographical maps spread across a workbench, marking potential ambush points with practiced efficiency. These terrain features match patterns we saw in the Hindu Kush. Natural choke points perfect for vehicle interdiction. "Your cargo must be worth millions to justify this level of operation," Sam observes, installing specialized quick-release mechanisms for the dog transport compartments. "It's not about money," Jack responds, loading specialized equipment from locked cases, night vision mounts, communications jammers, and tactical harnesses for Havoc and Sigma. These drugs could supply their synthetic opioid operation for months. Viper is thinking strategically, not financially. As sunset approaches, Jack conducts an intensive training session with the dogs, running them through tactical response scenarios. Among the junked vehicles behind Sam's compound, Havoc and Sigma move with fluid precision, responding to hand signals and whispered commands with perfect coordination. "Impressive," Sam comments, watching as the dogs execute a complex flanking maneuver. "Most people have no idea what properly trained military dogs can really do." "That's our advantage," Jack responds, rewarding the dog's performance with brief affirmation. Viper might be ex-10th Mountain, but he's never faced military working dogs with actual combat experience. Sam's satellite phone buzzes with encrypted messages from the veteran trucker network, former military personnel who haul sensitive cargo across the northern states. "They've set up checkpoints at these 3 junctions," Sam reports, marking locations on Jack's map. "Mobile teams with communication gear. And spotters here, here, and here," adds Jack, indicating ridgelines with tactical significance. "They're establishing a containment grid, standard military procedure for high-value target acquisition." The dogs patrol the compound's perimeter, moving in synchronized patterns that maximize coverage without leaving blind spots. Their training shows in every calculated movement. These aren't pets wandering randomly, but tactical assets, executing security protocols. "I've got contacts in 3 county sheriff offices," Sam says, pulling up encrypted communications. "They're reporting increased gang movement, motorcycles with specialized communications equipment, tactical teams at key intersections. This isn't just about your cargo anymore. Viper's making a statement." Jack nods, recognizing the pattern from insurgent operations in combat zones. "They need to show strength after those failed hijackings last month. My shipments become a test case for their new leadership." By nightfall, Jack's preparations are complete. His truck has been transformed into a mobile tactical position, reinforced against small arms fire, equipped with specialized countermeasures, and modified for rapid dog deployment. "Your window's closing," Sam warns, studying thermal imaging feeds showing motorcycle movements on distant highways. "They're tightening the net. Another day and you won't find a clean exit route." Jack checks his watch, calculating travel time against known gang patrol patterns. "We move in 3 hours, darkest part of night, when their surveillance effectiveness drops by 40%. Even with these modifications, you're still 1 truck against professional teams with military training," Sam warns. Jack runs his hand along Havoc's back, feeling the powerful muscles beneath the fur. The dog's eyes reflect calm readiness rather than anxiety. Sigma maintains his watch position by the door, body language communicating complete situational awareness. In Afghanistan, we learned that superior numbers mean nothing against superior training and tactical surprise, Jack says, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who has survived multiple combat tours. Viper might be former infantry, but he's never faced a ranger with combat-experienced military working dogs. As Jack reviews his route one final time, Havoc and Sigma rest nearby, conserving energy for the coming operation. Their disciplined stillness contrasts sharply with ordinary dogs. These animals understand the preparation phase of military operations. They think they're hunting a truck driver, Jack tells Sam, checking specialized communications gear 1. Last time. Let's show them what happens when you chase a predator into his chosen hunting ground. Midnight transforms the Montana wilderness into a landscape of deep shadows and silver highlights under the half moon. Jack's truck moves without headlights along the abandoned logging road, guided by thermal imaging displayed on a modified dashboard screen. Havoc and Sigma sit in perfect stillness, conserving energy while maintaining situational awareness. 2 miles to the junction, Jack announces softly. The dog's ears prick forward, recognizing pre-mission briefing tones. Satellite shows 5 bikes positioned at the choke point. Professional placement. Jack reduces speed, scanning the terrain through specialized optics, mounted discreetly beside standard mirrors. The ambush reveals itself in subtle signs, invisible to untrained eyes. Disturbed ground patterns, slight. Reflections from metal surfaces, the unnatural stillness of positioned vehicles. Surveillance team on the ridge, he murmurs to Havoc, whose head turns fractionally toward the elevated position without command. 2-man team, night vision equipment. They've already spotted us. The radio crackles with encrypted transmissions. From Sam's monitoring station, command vehicle just arrived at the ambush point. Black pickup with 4 men, tactical gear. They're expecting resistance. Jack's mind processes terrain features, distances, angles of approach. Battlefield calculations performed countless times in combat zones. His truck slows further, creating the impression of uncertainty, encouraging the ambush team to commit. Fully to their position. Time to show them Kandahar rules, he tells his dogs, their attentive postures indicating complete understanding. A motorcycle suddenly appears blocking the road ahead, headlight blazing to blind approaching drivers. Armed men emerge from concealed positions, moving with the practiced coordination of former military personnel. Jack reduces speed but doesn't stop, analyzing their formation through thermal imaging. 7 tangos total, he assesses, watching. Heat signatures moving into flanking positions. 3 with long guns, rest with sidearms. A voice blares from a bullhorn. Stop your truck immediately, hands visible through windows. Jack's response is a driving maneuver perfected during convoy security operations in Afghanistan, a precise acceleration pattern that appears reckless, but follows calculated vectors toward the weakest point in the blockade. The truck plows toward the gap between positioned motorcycles, forcing blocking teams to scatter. Gunfire erupts as Jack activates countermeasures. Specialized smoke canisters deploy from hidden compartments, creating a wall of visual obstruction, enhanced by strobing lights calibrated to disrupt night vision equipment. Havoc, Sigma, deploy pattern Charlie, Jack commands, as the truck breaks through the initial blockade. The dogs move with machine-like precision to specialized deployment ports, reinforced openings that allow them to exit the moving vehicle according to tactical necessity. 2 bikers appear on the passenger side, attempting to target the truck's tires. Jack gives a short, sharp whistle command. Sigma launches through his deployment port, a shadow moving with deadly purpose. The first attacker goes down before comprehending what hit him, weapon clattering uselessly to the ground. Havoc follows. Seconds later, targeting the second gunman with textbook military precision. Not a vicious animal attack, but a calculated takedown, focusing on weapon arm and balance points. The man falls, weapon neutralized, disabled but not permanently injured. Jack executes a controlled stop, whistles once at a specific pitch and duration. Both dogs immediately return, moving through darkness with flawless recall, despite the chaos of gunfire and shouting. They re-enter the truck through specialized ports as Jack accelerates away, leaving confusion in his wake. Through his thermal display, Jack watches the ambush dissolve into disorder. Bikers fire wildly into darkness. Communications break down. Cohesive teams scatter into individual actors. Classic ambush failure cascade. Contact report, he radios to Sam. 7 hostiles neutralized, 2 disabled by K9, vehicle sustaining minimal damage. Proceeding to waypoint 3. The truck disappears into the night as Jack navigates without lights, following memorized terrain features. Behind them, the ambush site erupts with motorcycle engines, frantic communications, and the unmistakable pattern of leadership demanding explanations. Through his specialized rear optics, Jack spots a figure standing apart from the chaos, a man in tactical riding gear, studying the aftermath with professional assessment rather than emotional reaction. Even at this distance, the man's military bearing is unmistakable. Viper, Jack identifies, recognizing the former infantry commander from intelligence briefings. He's taking personal control now. Havoc and Sigma maintain alert postures there, training allowing them to balance between combat readiness and energy conservation. No excited panting, no unnecessary movement, just the controlled vigilance of combat veterans. This was their evaluation run, Jack tells his dogs, as the truck climbs a ridge that will mask their heat signature from pursuing forces. Now they know we're not ordinary cargo. Now the real hunt begins. The forest night swallows the truck as Jack implements the next phase of his tactical plan. Behind them, Viper issues commands to his communications team, his voice carrying the cold determination of someone unaccustomed to failure. "Find that truck," the gang leader orders. "I want every available rider mobilized. No one makes fools of the devil's hand." The first light of dawn paints the Montana landscape in shades of gold and purple as Jack's truck pulls into an abandoned ranger station 20 miles from the nearest paved road. The structure's deteriorating appearance conceals its true purpose. A safe house maintained by the Veteran Support Network for exactly these scenarios. Sheriff Dawson's unmarked vehicle approaches from the east, dust trail minimized by his careful speed control, another sign of professional training. Havoc alerts with a subtle posture shift that Jack recognizes instantly. "Friendly," he confirms, watching the dog's muscles relax marginally while maintaining operational awareness. Sigma continues monitoring the perimeter, completing their security coverage without verbal commands. Dawson exits his vehicle carrying a tactical briefcase. His expression is grim as he approaches, eyes constantly scanning the surrounding terrain. Satellite shows 8 bikes and 3 support vehicles converging on this region, he reports, following Jack into the reinforced back room of the ranger station. Viper has deployed his entire Phantoms unit. This isn't standard hijacking security anymore. Inside, Jack checks Havoc and Sigma for injuries while maintaining conversation. The dogs stand perfectly still during examination, military discipline rather than pet behavior. "They're escalating beyond cargo theft now," he observes, confirming. The dogs show no combat damage. This has become about gang reputation. Dawson opens his briefcase, revealing surveillance photos and intelligence reports. "This isn't just about pharmaceutical hijacking anymore," he explains, spreading materials across a worn table. "Your cargo contains specialized treatment drugs that the devil's hand needs for their synthetic opioid operation. Intelligence suggests they're building a distribution network that could flood 5 states with product." Jack studies the intelligence materials while Havoc and Sigma patrol the perimeter. Viper was 10th Mountain Division. He understands tactical value. These aren't random hijackings, they're targeted acquisitions. Satellite imagery shows motorcycles converging from multiple directions. Communications intercepts reveal Viper has deployed his elite Phantoms unit, former military bikers specializing in high-value asset retrieval. They've established blocking positions on all major roads, Dawson continues, marking a tactical map. Drone assets conducting search patterns. Forward observation teams on key terrain features. Military containment doctrine, Jack notes, recognizing patterns from his combat tours. But they've made a critical mistake. What's that? They still think they're hunting a truck driver, Jack answers, tracing alternative routes on the map. Not a ranger who specialized in breaking containment. Grids in Afghanistan. Dawson studies him with new appreciation. Your file mentioned special operations, but not your specialization. Tactical mobility operations with integrated K9 units, Jack explains, checking specialized equipment in concealed compartments. We developed methods to move high-value assets through enemy-controlled territory, using military working dogs as counter-surveillance and security elements. The sheriff's satellite phone chirps with an encrypted alert. His expression darkens as he reads the message. They've got someone inside the shipping company, he reports. Locations, cargo manifestos, route plans, all compromised. That's how they tracked you from the beginning. Jack nods, pieces falling into place. They knew my route before I did. Pattern fits with Viper's methodology. Information warfare preceding physical engagement. Through the window, Jack spots movement on a distant ridge. The glint of high magnification optics catching morning light. We've been compromised. They're triangulating our position now. Dawson checks his weapon. Tactical response team is 90 minutes out. Too late, Jack responds, already moving to tactical preparations. Viper will have assault teams here in 20 minutes maximum. We need to move now. Outside, the first signs of the gang's approach become visible. Dust clouds from fast-moving vehicles, the distant rumble of motorcycle engines. Their response time confirms my suspicion, Jack notes, securing specialized gear to his tactical vest. This cargo contains something even more valuable than we thought. Those pharmaceuticals must be uniquely formulated, probably impossible to source through normal channels. If they capture those drugs, their entire opioid operation goes operational immediately, Dawson realizes. Rural communities would be flooded with product within days. Jack provides final checks on Havoc and Sigma's tactical harnesses. The dogs stand ready, bodies communicating complete operational awareness. Your response team won't make it, he tells Dawson while loading his truck. But I will. Deliver this flash drive to your technical team. It contains everything I've gathered on their operation. You're still going through with the delivery? Against an entire biker tactical unit? Jack's eyes reflect the calm certainty of someone who has faced worse odds in deadlier places. In Afghanistan, we specialized in moving critical assets through enemy territory while being actively hunted. This is exactly what we trained for. The motorcycle sounds grow louder as Jack completes final preparations. Havoc and Sigma take their positions in the truck, their disciplined stillness conveying their understanding of the mission parameters. 12 hours to delivery point, Jack confirms, checking his watch. If these medications don't arrive, rural hospitals lose their surgical capabilities. Tell your people to watch for my signal. They'll know when to move on the gang's staging areas. Dawson studies him with new understanding. You're not just delivering cargo, you're setting a trap. Jack's smile carries cold determination as he starts the engine. Viper isn't the only one who remembers his military training. Sunset paints the Montana mountains in gold and shadow as Jack's truck navigates a narrow valley. The route follows dry creek beds and abandoned mining trails, paths that don't appear on any modern maps but were carefully selected for their tactical advantages. Jack drives without headlights, navigating by memory and terrain association. Havoc and Sigma sit in perfect stillness, their military training evident in their controlled breathing and alert posture. These aren't anxious animals, but combat professionals conserving energy before engagement. 3 hours to delivery point, Jack calculates, checking his modified navigational equipment. Viper has deployed everything now, 20 former military riders with tactical equipment. Radio intercepts confirm the gang has established a comprehensive search grid. Bikes at strategic choke points, surveillance teams on elevated terrain, even unmarked drones sweeping suspected routes with infrared sensors. The first drone appears, just as Jack predicted, a dark shape against the deepening purple sky. Its infrared scanner sweeps methodically across the valley floor, searching for any trace of the missing truck. Counter-surveillance protocol, Jack whispers to his dogs. Both animals press lower in their positions, understanding the command. From countless night operations in Afghanistan, Jack activates specialized smoke dispensers mounted beneath his truck. The canisters release a particulate that disrupts thermal imaging while he maintains his course through memorized waypoints. The drone passes overhead, its sensors blinded to the heat signature below. They're using herding tactics, he observes, watching vehicle movement patterns through his tactical display, channeling us toward that canyon. It's exactly what his unit would have done to a high-value target in combat zones. The canyon looms ahead, a natural choke point where steep walls narrow to a passage barely wide enough for his truck. Through thermal imaging, Jack identifies the ambush formation, motorcycles positioned to create a funnel, shooters on high ground, sniper teams covering approach routes. Classic kill box, he murmurs to Havoc. The dog's ears flick forward, recognizing the pre-engagement briefing tone. Time to show them why we were the best escape and evasion team in the Hindu Kush. Jack drives directly toward the ambush, his apparent recklessness concealing precise calculation. When the biker forces spring their trap, he executes Protocol Omega, a counter-ambush technique developed for similar situations in Afghanistan. The truck suddenly accelerates, crashing through the first blockade while deploying specialized flashes that disorient night vision users. Gang members, momentarily blinded, fire wildly as the truck smashes through their carefully planned ambush point. Viper's voice crackles over intercepted communications. "Do not damage the cargo! Contain the driver!" Biker forces converge from all directions, their vehicles maneuvering to box in the truck. Jack activates the final defensive countermeasures while giving Havoc and Sigma their command phrase, "Hunters active." The dogs deploy through specialized hatches, moving with lethal precision through the darkness. Their military training becomes devastatingly apparent as they systematically disable tactical team members, targeting communications gear, weapons, and mobility, just as they were trained to do in combat zones. Havoc takes down the communications specialist first, exactly as trained for disruption operations. The man goes down without firing a shot, his radio equipment damaged beyond immediate repair. Sigma simultaneously targets the team leader, using darkness and speed to neutralize the tactical command node. Without leadership and communications, the professional biker operators begin to lose cohesion. Jack, meanwhile, engages the remaining forces with precision-driving maneuvers that isolate and neutralize vehicle threats. His truck, now fully transformed into a tactical platform, demonstrates capabilities that shock the professional gang operators. Tangos fragmented, he assesses, watching heat signatures scattering in confusion. Command structure disrupted, counter-pursuit window opening. A short, precise whistle brings both dogs back to the truck, their mission completed with military efficiency. They return through their specialized ports as Jack accelerates away, leaving chaos in his wake. Through his tactical scope, Jack spots Viper on the ridge above, directing operations with increasing frustration. The gang leader's body language reveals his rage at seeing his professional team outmaneuvered by what he thought was a simple truck driver. "Target identified," Jack whispers to himself, memorizing Viper's position details for the final phase of his plan. The drone returns, infrared scanner sweeping desperately across the terrain. Jack activates secondary countermeasures, specialized deflectors that scatter the heat signature, creating multiple false readings across the landscape. They're regrouping, Jack tells his dogs, as they navigate a steep ravine that will hide their movement. Viper is committing his reserves. Next phase will be their all-out effort. Havoc and Sigma watch him with calm intensity, their breathing controlled, muscles ready. These animals understand the rhythm of combat operations, the ebb and flow of tactical engagement that most humans never comprehend. Jack checks his cargo one final time, confirming the secure packaging of the critical pharmaceuticals. Then he studies his tactical display, which shows biker forces converging toward his last known position. Time for the end game, he tells his dogs, setting course for a plateau 5 miles ahead. Let's show Viper why you never corner a ranger and his military working dogs. The night deepens as Jack's truck disappears into terrain, selected specifically for the final confrontation, a battlefield of his choosing, where 3 combat veterans will face the full might of a biker gang's military assets. Night shrouds the battlefield as Jack positions his truck at the base of a rugged plateau. The location wasn't chosen randomly. It's a perfect tactical position, offering multiple evacuation routes while funneling approaching forces through predictable channels. Final preparations, Jack instructs his dogs, who respond with disciplined focus. Havoc and Sigma move efficiently through rehearsed protocols, their muscle memory forged in combat zones half a world away. Through thermal imaging, Jack watches motorcycles converging from multiple directions. Heat signatures reveal tactical teams deploying with military precision, staggered formations, overwatch positions, flanking elements. Viper is committing everything, he observes, noting the methodical approach. 20 operators minimum, tactical gear, professional spacing. The gang's radio frequencies fill with controlled communications, position reports, movement coordinates, fire sector assignments. These aren't street thugs, but trained professionals executing a sophisticated operation. Jack activates the final phase of his counter-surveillance system, specialized signal jammers that distort thermal signatures while maintaining his awareness of approaching forces. Then he gives Havoc and Sigma their most important command, Midnight Hunters. The dogs immediately deploy through specialized ports, disappearing into darkness with ghost-like efficiency. This isn't a frantic animal release, but a precision military operation. The dogs have specific targets, specific routes, specific objectives memorized through countless training repetitions. Viper's voice crackles through monitored communications. All teams converge on target location, maximum security protocols. The dogs are primary threats. Neutralize them first. He's learning, Jack notes with professional appreciation. But too late. From his concealed position, Jack watches Viper's security team establishing a command post on elevated terrain. The gang leader's tactical experience shows in his positioning: good visibility, multiple escape routes, protected firing positions. Havoc, Sigma, execute pattern Sierra, Jack commands through specialized communication gear. The dogs respond, instantly moving like ghosts through the darkness, systematically isolating Viper from his protective detail. The first indication of Havoc's approach comes when the communication specialist at the command post suddenly goes silent, his radio equipment disabled by precisely applied pressure to specific weakness points, techniques developed specifically for K9 operators in combat environments. Sigma simultaneously neutralizes the perimeter security, targeting the team's flanking elements with textbook precision. The men go down silently, weapons secured, mobility disabled, but without life-threatening injuries. Viper immediately recognizes the pattern of professional military K9 operations. "Countermeasures!" he shouts into his radio. "They're using tactical dog deployments. Fall back to defensive positions." "You think these dogs frighten me?" he challenges loudly, switching to clear communication, his voice betraying his military background. "I trained with the best counterinsurgency units in Kandahar. Jack emerges from the shadows, moving with the controlled precision of someone who has conducted countless night operations. "The difference," he responds calmly, "is that my dogs fought with the best. What follows is a masterclass in coordinated K9 tactics. Havoc and Sigma don't just attack, they execute complex containment patterns, cutting off escape routes and forcing Viper's remaining team into predetermined kill zones where they can be neutralized without risking the cargo. Biker operators find themselves systematically isolated, their tactical formations broken by K9 units moving faster than human response times. Professional soldiers accustomed to human opponents have no effective counter to military dogs operating with this level of coordination. Viper, finally separated from his men, faces Jack directly. Recognition dawns in his eyes as he studies Jack's stance, his movement patterns, the precision of his tactical positioning. Army Ranger, the gang leader, identifies. Afghanistan, Hindu Kush and Helmand, Jack confirms. K9 tactical mobility operations. Viper reaches for his weapon, but freezes when both dogs appear simultaneously on his flanks, their military training evident in their perfect positioning. There is no barking, no growling, just the deadly focused attention of combat veterans, who understand their mission parameters. In Afghanistan, Jack says quietly, we learned that the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most weapons. It's the one you underestimate. The sound of approaching vehicles fills the air, but these bear Sheriff's Department and state police markings. Sheriff Dawson leads a tactical team into position, securing the captured gang members and the critical cargo. Your truck triggered our hidden sensors 3 hours ago, Dawson explains as his team secures the scene. We've been tracking your movement patterns and preparing the interception. Just as planned, Jack confirms, watching Havoc and Sigma maintaining security positions around the captured gang members. The dogs show no excitement or aggression, just the professional focus of soldiers completing their mission. Viper, now in custody, looks at the dogs with new understanding. Those aren't pets, he realizes too late. They're warriors. So is their handler, Dawson responds. Jack checks his watch. The pharmaceutical shipment will reach the rural hospitals on schedule, ensuring critical treatments can continue without interruption. His mission, like dozens before it in combat zones around the world, has been successfully completed. Mission parameters achieved, he tells Havoc and Sigma in the formal tone that signals operational completion. The dogs relax marginally, transitioning from active combat status to security posture, still vigilant but conserving energy now that primary objectives have been secured. The battlefield falls silent as law enforcement officers process the scene. The cargo secure and the threat neutralized. What began as a gang interception operation has ended as a comprehensive takedown of Devil's Hand's elite tactical unit. Dawn breaks over the Montana landscape as law enforcement agencies process the scene. Tactical teams secure captured gang members, while intelligence specialists document seized equipment and communications devices. Jack stands beside his truck, now bearing the scars of battle, as Havoc and Sigma receive medical checks from a specially dispatched veterinarian with military experience. 3 gang warehouses identified and raided, Sheriff Dawson reports, approaching with his tablet displaying real-time operation updates. Viper's entire network exposed. The intelligence we gathered will disrupt Devil's Hand operations for months. Jack nods, watching his dogs submit to medical examination with disciplined patience. These aren't pets fidgeting through vet visits, but soldiers understanding the importance of post-mission protocols. The pharmaceuticals, he asks, professional focus still on mission parameters despite the successful outcome. Arriving at the rural hospitals within the hour, Dawson confirms. Surgical schedules maintained without interruption. Your mission profile was executed perfectly. Senior officials from multiple agencies converge on the command post, their initial skepticism visibly transformed as they review tactical recordings from the night's operation. The evidence is undeniable. A single truck driver with two military working dogs systematically dismantled a professional biker tactical unit. We need to implement these K9 protocols across our rural security teams, a state operations director tells his colleagues, studying footage of Havoc and Sigma's coordinated containment maneuvers. These aren't standard police dog tactics. They're not standard military protocols either, adds a federal liaison. This is specialized battlefield application adapted for civilian security operations. Jack completes his own post-operation checklist with methodical precision. Equipment status, threat assessment, mission documentation. The habits of countless combat operations remain ingrained, regardless of environment. 3 weeks later, Jack's truck rolls along Highway 12, approaching the same truck stop where the operation began. Havoc and Sigma maintain their watchful positions, their alertness undiminished by recent successes. The landscape has changed. State patrol stations now feature specialized K9 teams, training with protocols adapted from Jack's operation. Surveillance points have been reinforced with counter-gang measures based on technical data recovered from Viper's command equipment. Sheriff Dawson waves him through a checkpoint with a professional nod of respect. The shipping company's implementing your security recommendations, he informs Jack as he stops briefly. New verification protocols, randomized routing, counter-surveillance measures. And the veteran trucker network? Expanding daily, he confirms. 23 former military personnel have joined your security information sharing system, 7 with working dogs of their own. Jack's satellite phone displays encrypted updates from the network, position reports, threat assessments, surveillance, detection notifications. What began as informal cooperation has evolved into a sophisticated early warning system spanning the entire northern transport corridor. A month after the operation, Jack drives the same route. Havoc and Sigma alert in their positions. The dogs' military training shows in their consistent vigilance. No complacency despite recent victories, no relaxation of professional standards. At a secure rest area, he meets with newly recruited network members, former Army Rangers, Marine Corps veterans, even a retired Special Forces operator. Many have brought working dogs with them, animals with battlefield experience now repurposed for rural security operations. The gangs are adapting their tactics. Jack briefs the group, unfolding detailed maps across his truck's hood. Intelligence indicates they're shifting to electronic warfare, drone surveillance, digital tracking. So we adapt faster, responds a former Marine K9 handler, her Belgian Malinois sitting attentively beside her. That's what we did in combat zones. The veteran network expands weekly, creating an informal but highly effective security layer across rural highways. Shipping companies quietly seek their services for high-value or sensitive cargo, recognizing the unique capabilities these handler dog teams provide. The gangs will adapt, Dawson tells Jack during his stop at a rural checkpoint 6 weeks after the operation. They always do. Jack watches as Havoc's ears track something beyond human perception, the dog's military training evident in his precise movements. So will we, he responds quietly. The pharmaceutical shipments Jack protected have restored critical medical capabilities to rural hospitals, saving lives that would have been lost without proper surgical supplies. More importantly, his operation provided a tactical blueprint now being implemented by security agencies across the northern states. Viper's interrogation revealed the full scope of gang plans, a sophisticated synthetic opioid operation that would have flooded rural communities with deadly products. Instead, federal agencies used his captured equipment to enhance their own interdiction systems. As his truck rolls forward, Jack reflects on how his military service prepared him for a battle he never expected to fight on American soil. The dogs settle into their watchful routine, combat veterans who found a new way to serve. The biker gang had mistaken Jack Reeves for a simple truck driver. They never understood they were targeting a warrior who had already proven himself in the world's most dangerous battlefields, and who had brought his most trusted allies with him. Havoc and Sigma maintain their vigilant watch as the truck disappears into the Montana landscape. The mission is complete, but their service continues. Military working dogs don't retire from duty. They just find new battlefields where their specialized skills remain essential. The northern transport routes are safer now, though few civilians understand why. But those who serve recognize the truth. Sometimes the most effective security assets are the ones nobody notices until it's too late. A quiet truck driver and two Belgian Malinois who appear to be nothing more than pets to those who don't know how to see the warriors beneath. The surface.